I have literally nothing
Begin.
to talk about. Oh, well, let's count it down. Don't just do that. That's not helpful, is it, Dan?
I wanted to do that to annoy you when you then go to do it.
Oh my god. Oh my
Begin.
god. No, Dan. That's not. It's not. You're not a movie director clacking a clackboard. You know what I mean?
Why did I
Alright.
buy that clipper then?
Do you know what? I did actually buy one of them when I was in Universal Studios, and I had it in my room for a long time. All right. On the count of three, we'll count down 3, 2, 1, and then we'll clap.
Okay. Do we do the clap on the
3.
one or the clap on the beat after the one?
I swear to God, Dan, it's after the 1. So 3, 2, 1, and okay.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, and just such a cunt. Why, Dan? Serious to God, honest to God, man. Like, if you don't do this right the next time, I am walking out of here. Okay, I'm gonna quit Miss and never look back. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, and welcome to Myths. I'm Matt Huss.
And I'm Dan Rhodes. Whether you know about Theseus or you're revising your syllabus,
If you want tales with a bit of jest, or you just want to hear about incest.
what?
What? It's really interesting.
Welcome to Myths. Welcome to Myths.
Hello and welcome to episode 114 of Miss Podcast. I'm its host, Matt Hoss, and my dear friend is Dan Rhodes. How's it going, Dan?
I am good. You do good?
I am good. Thank you for asking. And Dan, what's up with you today? You sound slightly more robotic than usual. How
I
is
am Dan.
everything? Dan, have you been replaced by a robot? Is it?
Answer is
You know what?
no.
You know how some people are like quite scared about the robots taking over our jobs and stuff like that. Have they started taking over podcast hosts? Because to be honest, I was hoping for a Dan replacement. Dan Robot, can you sort out the league table?
Of course, I am a robot.
It's nice that you actually admit you're a robot now as well. So that's how I got you. I'm like Sherlock
I can do
Holmes.
any job deemed insignificant.
You're such a bellend. Okay. Could you do the rest of this podcast as a robot?
Obviously.
Okay. So
I have been
Dan
programmed
Robot.
to be funnier than Matt Hoss.
So you're not that funny.
Exactly.
Can you tell a zinger one-liner for us, please, Mr. Danbot?
Robot walks into a bar, says, "Can I have a drink, please?" Bartender says, "No, we don't serve robots." Robot says, 10011100110, and leaves.
I mean, what? Imagine if someone would listen to this as a first ever episode. I
You
mean,
laugh.
what?
Program dictate. Program is
Yeah.
to laugh. Did I do good?
Yes, you're well done. But just for this episode, Dan, but even though I immediately like you more than the real Dan Rhodes, can you put Dan back on just for this episode?
Yes, I will go and get him.
Very heavy robot. Also, a credit to Dan's acting abilities. He's able to show the walking off very well.
I got him for you. He is next to me.
Okay.
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Dan. When did you get a robot of yourself?
You noticed?
Yeah, I did actually. Because
I've been programming this thing for weeks. I really thought I'd nailed it this time. I thought you wouldn't be able to tell. I thought I'd got my idiosyncrasies. He's funnier than me. I don't know if you told a joke.
Well, tell you what, Dan. I think you were too perfect because the robot was actually very. I couldn't tell between the two because one of them was like. One of you is like very very charismatic, very joyful, and the other is not a robot. So you know what I mean? Like it was a very hard. I can't fool me. You know what I mean? And I think next week we should do like a Turing test for Matt Horse. If you know what I mean? Like you should try and fool me that robot is real life.
Okay, I'll keep programming it. I'll switch it off for now if that's okay. Otherwise, he might interrupt in the podcast like your cat does.
You're actually quite nice last time because in the edit notes you.
No, please do not kill me. Yeah, he's asleep now. It's fine. We're safe.
Well, that's Dan's brother, everyone. Have you got a name for the robot, Dan?
Yeah, it's Dan 2.0.
Does it mean it's twice as good as you?
Yep. At everything.
So, what are you trying to do it so you don't have to do the podcast anymore? Is that the reason?
Well, the main reason I did it was that he would do the league table for me.
Well,
But
so
then
you should write. Hold on.
I don't know about you. He may. Sorry, I was in a different room. But has he told that joke, the bartender joke?
Oh yeah.
The classic, right? Classic robot joke. So he's funny, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give this guy a chance.
Do what I found so hilarious about that? Like, so in this hypothetical situation where you have made a robot and spent hours and like months programming this robot,
For
where it
AI.
could have done that you create an AI where you could have like in 15 minutes completed the league table. I mean, that's what a ridiculous backstory. How are you,
Can you
Dan?
imagine when I have to I go in front of I win some Nobel Prize for creating artificial intelligence, and they're like, "Yeah, is it true that you spent several years making this just to do something that should only have taken you about half an hour anyway?" And I'm like, "Yes," and they're like, "Bravo, we peaked, everybody. Humanity's peaked."
Oh, dear
And
me.
they'll be like, "How many
Well,
podcasts did it take Matt to realize?" And I'll be like, "About 10."
well, you can't fool me. I'm like the best. But yeah, Dan, how are you today? How not robot you? How actually you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Robot use I've downpowered him. It's fine. He's powered down. Um, no, I'm pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, I'm living my best life.
Oh, that's good. So yeah, you. How has kind of the weeks of nothingness been for you? What have you been up to in that time? Have you started anything creative? What's your vibe?
My vibe is that I've been reading.
Ooh, what are you reading?
Well, books, obviously.
Oh yeah, sorry. Well, remember famously that this podcast you watched this podcast, so maybe you could be reading. I don't know,
I suppose these
water.
days you can listen to books, which is weird.
In all fairness, I do that quite a lot. I prefer audiobooks because I'm too lazy to read, if you know what I mean.
Fair. Well, I used to be like that, but actually, lockdown's got me reading a lot of non-fiction. It's good. I've been doing my Harvard courses, been learning about stuff.
Oh yeah.
Um, been exercising, trying to get fitter. Not that I'm trying to get fit. It's just that I realised that I was getting very unfit from not doing much. And you realise how much you walk during the day when you work and stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just the general hustle and bustle,
Yeah,
right?
just like my 10 minutes to the train station, then my further 10 minutes from there to work, and then vice versa back. That's already 40 minutes of walking that I've had to do already. That's standard in my day. And
Yeah,
and stuff like that you
I
forget about, don't you?
absolutely, because I currently live in a bungalow, and I've realized because I've not done general walking around my day to day. Whenever I go up steps, I'm like, oh my god, oh I'm dying,
Well,
oh my lungs are on fire.
it's
Yeah,
something
so
quite
yeah,
interesting about altitude.
yeah,
Something quite interesting about for my office, for example, where I work, is that the toilet and kitchen area is upstairs. So actually, I
yeah,
go up and downstairs a lot during the day, and even little things like that. It does make a difference. Like your body's at least doing something. I'm
yeah,
walking up and
absolutely.
around the office. I'm going on my lunch break. I'm walking. We have to go to the bank. I walk to the bank. I don't know. And yeah, you just I'm standing on my feet a lot, which I'm even just
Hmm.
that act of, standing up for a long period of time is better than sitting. So I'm just trying to exercise to counteract all the stuff I'm not doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find it. I'm trying to run twice a week at the moment, and I, you know what, like I last year I was super fit at this point in my life, and I was like really good. But now I'm just like I just can't be arsed. I'm happy for the winds of death to take me. If you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah, you
don't
used to
mind
do
it
loads of
anymore.
running, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm trying to do twice a week, but the issue is that I'm not doing any, as we mentioned, that kind of hidden exercise, but also I'm not doing any actual exercise. No,
Probably do
I
3 times a week.
was it sorry?
You should probably maybe up it to 3 times a week and then see how you
I
feel.
just I just don't enjoy it. Do you know what I
I
mean?
know I hate running too. I agree.
Yeah, well, it's just like there's no. I need to find a sport which I actually do enjoy. Do you know what I mean? So, listeners, if you have any idea of joy, like a sport, you think I might enjoy, I will do that for you. You know what I mean?
I can think of a sport
So,
you'd probably enjoy.
what
Because you wear
what?
so many bowling shirts, I've always just assumed that you like 10-pin bowling.
But that's not really a sport, is
Oh,
it?
a
It's
sport, is
midlife
it?
crisis in action, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose if you
So
do it enough, you would get fit at it.
yeah, but like you're sitting, that's you're picking a sport where you're sat down for at least 90% of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 90% of paying 10 pin bowling is being a spectator watching other people play bowling.
It's kind of like saying, "Oh, I'm a professional athlete," and you're a darts player. It's like, come on, mate. You know, like, I mean, like, but just to clarify, those are two great sports, and you are very talented if you play them well, sure. But you know, you're not exactly like Usain Bolt in the same category as him. You know what I mean?
No, but I bet he's shit at darts.
Yeah, Usain Bolt fundamentally is shit at darts. You know what I mean? He goes up to the podium and goes, he what he does, he doesn't throw the darts. He just runs really quickly to the board, puts it in, and runs back,
Like
and no one
Flash.
notices. Yeah, yeah. But yeah. So okay, Dan. What sports would you recommend for me?
um, I think you could do a sport that's maybe. Trying to think of a niche sport. Squash is very fun. You could, that does require. Um,
Is there any? Wait, hold on, Dan. Is there any sports which required like no movement whatsoever? I can just sit down.
yeah, you could do archery or shooting.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. But I don't think I'm gonna get fit. I think my issue is I want to be fit but not put the effort into it.
Yeah, you could do shot
Yeah, I
put
mean,
and use that frame of yours.
yeah, actually, I'm quite good at shot put and javelin. I think. Like
Yeah,
I've kind of got a raw power which I don't
I was gonna
harness.
say you've got like a stocky. I'm gonna say big boned, but I mean in a good way.
Yeah, I've got how I was usually quite good at rugby. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah, I was gonna say
the
you're like
boy,
a little squat.
yeah. But I also I don't think I would like rugby now because like if I play with 26-year-olds, I'll be not as good. So I'm gonna try and play with 12-year-olds exclusively.
Can we just edit that out so it just says you want to play with 12-year-olds with no context?
I mean, like I'll say again with no context. Let's play. Matt Horse would like to play with some 12-year-olds.
See, let's do some myths.
All right, let's do some myths.
Knowles! Myths! Knowles! Myths! Knowles! Myths! Knowles! Myths!
Oh god, why did I? You know what? There's some amount of things I say in this podcast, and then afterwards I'm like, why did I say that?
Do you
Like
remember
this.
when you had only watched like one episode and you were like, I like that guy from you. He reminds me of me.
I didn't say I
What an
liked
idiot.
the episode of. I didn't say I liked him. I just said I could definitely see traits of myself in him. And the more I watched it, the more I was right, Dan. Actually.
Funny. It's funny because I know you're probably telling the truth, right? Matt, what's our myth today?
So I think we're kind of being unceremonious about this, but I think unless uh,
Miracle happens.
yeah, a miracle happens or a fan of myths gets in touch in terms of with a new Norse myth, I think this is our final Norse myth, Dan.
I mean, to be fair, we've done a lot of them. Do you know how
We did
many in
about
total?
well, we started about 85-ish,
Yeah, that's a
or
lot.
maybe about 40 episodes,
That's pretty good
30
going.
episodes.
Pretty good going.
Yes, it's quite sad because we did about 80 of Greek and
But
Roman.
everyone knows there's way more Greek and Roman stuff.
Yes,
Norse
so we
myths
might.
just aren't that long. That's the problem. And we've had a few episodes where you almost have two. Some episodes are almost two myths in one because one of them isn't long enough to do as a whole.
Absolutely. So, but if you want to get in touch and you want to get some Norse myths in ASAP, you can email us at mythspodcast@gmail.com. And if you can just get in touch with us if you want to just say hello or thank you or you want to insult us, you can do that through there as well. So, yeah, but if you want to get in touch with a new myth, do that ASAP before next week. Okay, so Dan, we are doing the final one of Norse myths, and it's quite a big one. But do you know what? Can you give us like a 5 bullet point summary of what happened in the last episode we talked about? The
Yes.
death of Baldur.
Yes. 5 points.
5 points.
Baldur is really well liked. That's point number 1.
Yes.
He has a nightmare where he thinks he's going to die. That's point number
Yep.
2. Odin goes to the underworld to find out the meaning of the dreams and confirms that yes, in fact, Baldur will die. That's point number 3.
Okay, I think you kind of painted yourself into a corner here, Dan, because you've got 2 points left to do the rest of the story, and you did the first 3 in the first paragraph.
Yeah, I can do the others in another 2.
Okay, here we go.
Number 4 is as a consequence of this, the gods all band together to make sure that no one hurts Baldur, so the prophecy doesn't come true. And number 5 is everyone adheres to this rule except Loki, who gets a blind person to throw something at him. Mistletoe. He makes a spear out of mistletoe, and it kills him. So Loki actually defies everyone else, and Baldur dies, and the prophecy comes true.
That is true, but another thing to point out is that a Norse god goes down to the underworld to try and save him, and Hel says, "Yeah, you can have him back if you get everyone in the realms to weep for Baldur." And only one person didn't do that, and that was a giantess who was disguised as Loki. So Loki didn't want Baldur to come back and killed him effectively.
Basically, everything was Loki's fault. He's an asshole. He was really
And
bad,
that-
actually.
And that's where we arrive today, because today we are looking at the punishment of Loki. So, we'll start here, shall we?
Please.
After the death of Baldur, the gods and goddesses were very angry at Loki and wanted to confront him. Baldur was the most beloved god in Norse myth. Being the son of Odin and Frigg, Baldur was the god of light and justice, but he could not live to fight with gods in Ragnarok as Loki on purpose indirectly murdered him. As the gods knew Loki was the one who conspired to kill Baldur, they wanted Loki to face the death sentence. So we get a little bit more knowledge of why Loki did what he did there, because I didn't actually figure it out until now that he's trying to help us out in Ragnarok, because Loki, as we know, at the end, Loki's fighting the rest of the gods, so he wanted to help his team by getting rid of Baldur.
Yes.
But, however, Loki had fled from Asgard, and he was hiding on top of a mountain. There he had built a house with 4 doors so that he could look out from the house in all directions. During the day, Loki would often shapeshift himself into a salmon and hide in the river called Flanang's Falls. And that's pretty cool. So he's like a little salmon all day.
Like a little, just a cute little salmon.
Okay, Dan, if you had to shapeshift into a type of fish, which fish would you shapeshift into?
I would shapeshift into. I think I would become some form of swordfish or marlin.
Oh, that's what you have a strong swordfish energy. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
That's how
Well, they're
that's how I
very
see
fast,
you.
aren't they? Like super fast, like a sailfish or something.
And both of you have a sword on your nose.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how it's quite awkward doing podcasts for you because sometimes you try and poke my eye out. It's very awful. During the evening, Loki sat at the fire pit inside his house and thought about what the Aesir was up to, and wondered which plans they had to capture him. While he sat there, he entertained himself by making a fishing net with a linen yarn.
So is he a salmon making a fishing net, or is he as himself making a fishing net?
I mean,
They don't have thumbs. That's going to be difficult.
Yeah, imagine me just going flapping around, just creating this net.
Also, imagine
but
how
yeah,
weird that would be to the other fish to see a fish making a fishing net.
Yeah, and dude, what's he doing? And you wouldn't trust him as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of like a chicken advertising with KFC, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird.
But yeah, so he's making a fishing net, which I think we'll find out more about afterwards. Do you want to do the next bit, or should I do the next paragraph?
You do the next one. I'll take off after that.
One day, Loki looked out from one of his doors and saw the Aesir traveling up the mountain. Shit, shock, horror. Odin had discovered Loki's whereabouts from his high seat in Asgard called Hildisgarth. Loki quickly jumped up and threw the linen net into the fire and ran down into the river. Quickly, to salmon form!
Does he shout to salmon form before he becomes a salmon?
You know what? We're only working with the source here, but I, as an artist, I'm going to make a creative endeavor and say yes. Without a shadow of a doubt, he always goes to salmon form and goes. Like,
And
yeah,
then plop into the water.
yeah, yeah. And the rest of the fish are like, dude, you don't have to do that every time. He goes, I know it's called theatrics, David. You stupid cod. Yeah.
When the Aesir arrived at the house, the first one to enter was Cavasir. He was the wisest of them all.
So
Ca-
Dan,
Cavasir
do you
was
remember?
one of the earlier myths, was he not?
Yes, and we haven't talked about Cavasir for a while, but Cavasir, he last time we saw him, do you remember where we last saw him?
Wasn't he being chopped up by
He
some
was,
dwarves?
yeah, he was hung to dry by some dwarves. Literally, all of his blood had been drained from him. But it's quite nice because we find out he's lived. He's
That's
found.
like a cool thing in a movie when a character that you see left to die, but you don't ever actually see them actually die. But it's just implied that they died, and then suddenly you realize that actually they weren't, and you're like, "Yay! I knew there was a reason I didn't actually see them die."
Well, in all fairness, I think he did
I think he
actually
did die.
die,
Yeah,
but do you remember his origins as well? Do you know why
yeah.
he's
He
so
was from
wise?
the Vanir and the Aesir when they had their the two gods had their fight.
Yeah,
As a
it's a
truce,
war.
they made Cavasir, which is like the wisest of them all.
'Cause they both spat into a
Yeah,
spittoon,
they spat into a bucket.
and mixed their saliva, and then, they
He's a
he
hybrid,
was like,
basically.
yeah, and he's kinda giving off some nice Sherlock energy here as well. So, Dan, what happened with Cavesir?
Cavasir looked around the house and tried to find Loki. When he realized the house was empty, he spotted something in the fire. It was an outline of the net in the ashes, and he realized it was a device for catching fish. Cavasir, he's very wise, Cavasir. There's a net there. I think that's for fish.
Yeah, so
Like,
that must
wow,
mean he.
Cavasir, wow.
Yeah, and like, imagine being that smart as well. Because if I saw a net in a fire, I'd probably be like, "Eh, probably nothing," probably trying to catch smoke. You know what I mean?
Yeah, net is obviously a famous way to do that. Cavasir told the Azir about his findings, and they made a copy from what he had seen in the ashes. When the net was ready, they went to the river and threw it into the waterfall. Thor held one end of the net, and the other Azir held the other end, and together they dragged the net through the river. Is Thor that strong that he's taking one side and they have to take all the other side?
Yeah, that is cool, isn't it? Also, what I kind of like in this myth is that
They're all
this
working
is
together.
yes, and also it's kind of a natural conclusion to this saga because, like, we're seeing all these different plots come together and coalesce. You know what I mean? We get to see Thor, who isn't using his hammer anymore. That's it really. But Kivisi is back.
But Loki was hiding on the bottom of the river between two huge stones. The Aesir were unable to catch him on their first try, but they saw something moving deeper down in the river. So the Aesir went up to the waterfall again and threw the net out into the river. This time they bound stones to the net so it would sink to the very bottom of the river. While the gods dragged the net through the river, Loki swam ahead of the net. When Loki saw that they were almost at the sea, he jumped up over the top of the net and swam back up the waterfall. The Aesir saw this and also returned back.
Well, that's pretty badass though. Like doing a backflip over a net. That's like Shamu shit right there.
This is
That's
going to become like
SeaWorld.
the origin of why salmon jump up rivers.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it absolutely is. I think
I can see it going that
that's
way.
very, very nicely seen there. But I also quite like the fact that how how would how would they know Loki was a fish? And he's kind of giving himself away there because he's jumping up and down. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's the whole point, right? They can just tell that he's like they're gods, right? So they know what a shapeshift looks like, and they can. I mean, this fish is doing backflips, so they're like, "That's not a fish."
You know what? That is not a fish. And but if like, yeah, I think it'd be quite easy to become inconspicuous, like incognito fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just blend in with the other salmon.
Also, why don't you just turn yourself to a dragon and fuck them all off?
Well, Loki always seems to turn himself into smaller things, doesn't he? A fly, a bird, a salmon.
Yeah, yes. Oh, you know what? That's another thing that kind of links because he's shapeshifted quite a lot. We've seen him change shapes quite a lot in that way, as you mentioned, like a fly. And yeah, he's quite more of a devious creature. Maybe he can only turn into like certain animals.
Wow, thanks, Matt.
This time, the Aesir split themselves into 3 groups. 2 of the groups walked at each side of the shore, while Thor was walking in the middle of the river. They all pulled the net through the river as they walked all the way down towards the sea. Now, also, Dan, what I've just realized here is that I don't think necessarily that Thor is strong enough to do the net by himself, but he's such the opposite of a team player that no one wants to be on his team. Do you know what I
Maybe
mean?
that's happening. Yeah.
He's like, I will do it by myself and I'll knock out that guy. And it's like, no, Jesus Christ, just for the love of God, you're drunk, Thor. Just, just hold this net. Okay. It's like kind of dealing with a 5-year-old. Loki now began to panic and realized that he now only had 2 options to escape. He could jump from the river into the sea, which was very dangerous as it could cost him his life. Or he could once again try to jump over the net and swim back up the waterfall. Loki chose to jump over the net once again, but this time he would not be so lucky. Thor, who was standing in the middle of the river, caught Loki with one hand, but because Loki was so slippery, he slipped back and forth between Thor's hands until he managed to get a firm hold of the salmon near its tail. And that is the reason why salmons today are narrow towards the rear. Ah, that's cool. To be honest, that's an observation I've never seen before.
Aren't all fish narrower towards the rear before the fin?
Maybe you caught all the fish.
Funny.
Also, not to be. Obviously, this is just a story, right? But how would that work if Thor grabbed Loki, who's a shapeshifter, by the tail? How did that imprint the rest of the salmon? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because he's not a salmon.
Yeah, like he just made Loki's tail. How does that affect? It's not exactly Loki's. Okay, wait 1 second. Let me just imprint my genealogy into the rest of these fish. Let me fuck the rest of these fish, and then we'll head off. You know what I mean?
Are you saying that a divine creator doesn't control evolution?
Let's move on, Dan, because I don't think we can get into a theological debate right now. And
Hey, it's a nice thought, though, right? All the other salmon saw Loki as a salmon and was like, "Wow, that's really helpful to not get caught. I'm going to make myself smaller towards the rear."
yes, oh yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, but imagine us being like, you know what? I think I would really like bulletproof skin. And just think of it really hard. Like, yeah, oh, there we go. Nice. Okay, so he's caught by Thor. Now that the Aesir had captured Loki, they wanted revenge for Baldur's death. Okay, Dan. So, what kind of punishment do you think is suitable for Loki here? What do you? Because he's killed
One of their
Baldur
own.
in a. What was that? Sorry.
Killed one of their own.
Yes, exactly. So, what punishment do you think befits the crime?
Well, being gods, if these were Greek gods, they'd probably lock him. They'd probably give him some ridiculous punishment to do for all of eternity. Um, but I feel like the Norse gods tend to be a little bit more. They're always more. They tend to not be so ridiculous in that sort of thing. So I reckon they'll just like chain him up, or maybe
Well,
they'll make him like be a slave or do something for the rest of his life that is like not as stupid as the Greek gods would do, but maybe like work for them or something like that.
but do you reckon they would trust him after that though? Because
Probably
he's
not.
already been quite. Fair enough.
Maybe they'll murder him.
So they dragged Loki to a cave, while they took 3 large, flat stones and placed them on their edges and made a hole through them. The Aesir then called Loki's sons, Vali and Narfi. They used magic and transformed Vali into a wolf, who ripped apart his own brother, Narfi. Okay, that's quite brutal so far. So part of the
Wow.
part of the punishment is to turn one of the sons into a wolf to rip apart the other son. That's pretty bad. The gods then took his guts and used them to bind Loki, who was placed on top of the 3 stones. Oh my god, this is horrible.
Tied together by the entrails of his now dead son.
I mean, now that's Norse, right?
Okay, there we go. I knew. Okay.
The gods used magic yet again, and the guts became as strong as iron. Because you know what? That's what I've always been saying. Why do we use iron in cars? Why don't we just use entrails like offal machines? Like, go and turn on the engine. Oh, sorry, my kidney's broken. Let's just put another one in. There you go. Good.
But Matt, you always say capitalism is an awful machine.
That's what I have tattooed on me. Yes. Okay, so Dan, take us into the conclusion.
Then Skadi took a poisonous snake and placed it above Loki so that its poison drips onto his face. Loki's
Oh,
wife, I don't think we've come across her before, Sigyn,
Sigan, yeah.
loved him so much that she'd obviously not that much, we haven't heard of her.
And he has slept around a lot.
Loki's wife Sigyn loved him so much that she decided to stay with him, and Sigyn still sits to this day holding a bowl above Loki's head to catch the poison from the snake. Every time the bowl is full, she leaves to pour out the poison, and at that moment, the poison drips onto Loki's face, which makes him shake violently in pain. So the whole earth shakes. And that, Matt, I think you'll find, is the reason why we have earthquakes.
That is 100% the reason why we have earthquakes. There's no other logical reason why we have earthquakes than a man writhing in pain.
Are we doing this other bit, by the way? Just FYI.
I put it in as because it's a nice way to kind of finish it off, but you don't have to. It's
Oh.
kind of exposure.
Undeniably, Loki deserved the punishment, do you not, Matt? No matter how useful he pretended to be the gods, he could not make up for what he had destroyed. The death of Baldur was, for sure, the last straw that ignited the wrath of the gods, not to mention Loki refusing to retrieve Baldur back from Hel. Prior to Baldur's death, there was a succession of troubles that Loki caused. That's fair. This was like the straw that broke the camel's back, right?
Yeah, and I think as we kind of alluded to, throughout this whole saga of Norse myths, Loki is being kind of the main character, really, or main antagonist. He's always been fucking things up. Everything in this Norse mythology is kind of due to Loki, right?
Yeah. Now, it's important to say that Loki stayed in this cave until the end of the days of Ragnarok. But they make a good point here, which is that so Loki's a bit mischievous, but then we also need to remember that as far as Loki's concerned, he had 3 children, didn't he? Fenrir, Jormungandr, and Hel, and they were all locked up by the Azir in various ways. I mean, Fenrir was that wolf, wasn't he, that was locked up? Jormungandr is the world serpent that everyone, Thor gives a bad time to. Hel's obviously banished to the underworld. So maybe this was like his plan all along to try and event. Like maybe he never really liked the Azir. He was like a
Yes.
double agent for the Vanir almost.
Well, he's not very good double agent because he's quite clear. Although he's sneaky and mischievous, he's also quite evident. Do you know what I mean? He's always
Yeah.
like,
Can I also say there have been times where he has done good. I have liked Loki. Like he has been he's been cheeky, but he's kind of lovable. Like his bromance
Yes.
with Thor, there were some funny myths with them.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's time to go and rank this myth, as we always do. Hey there, my name is Matt Huss, and in this link I have an American accent, and I advocate the safe use of myths podcasts in small doses. Okay, Mr. Danbot 2.0. So, hello. We're gonna rank this now.
Danbot for this.
Yeah, sure. He can rank it for us because
I am ready.
okay, Danbot. What 4 categories we always rank on?
Processing myths log. 4 4 categories: life skills, morals, creativity. WTF stands for what the fuck.
Now, Danbot, do you have a funny joke about robots?
Yes.
Do you want to retell it? Do you remember it?
Matt walks into a bar.
No, that wasn't it. That wasn't it.
Matt walks into a bar, says, "Hello, I'd like a league table, please." Bartender says, "No." Matt says, "Why?" Bartender says, "Because I am Dan." Ha 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 ha.
That wasn't really a joke, but more of a Stephen King short story, really. So, I mean, well, Dan, but you can help input the lead table. But let's get Dan back to analyze it as well. So,
It's okay. I'm sitting next to him. We can both do it.
okay, so life skills is the first thing we're going to look at. We're going to mark it out of 10. So, what kind of practical things did we learn? We learned how to shapeshift, how to build a net.
I feel like we learned a lot, actually. Oh, no, did we? Yeah, we did. We learned how to shapeshift. We learned how to catch a fish. We learned how to swim up a waterfall. We learned how to... turn someone into a wolf. We learned how to...
Yes.
turn entrails into iron. We learn how to be horrific. We learn how to like catch poison. We learn how
Yes.
earthquakes are formed.
Also, we've learned. Here's a big one. We've learned the art of detective and like kind of sleuthing because we
Cave
see
here,
Cavis
yeah.
here. Kind of, he gets his Sherlock on. And he's very much just like, I think that's where he was, and I think that's actually we have never really seen that before. Like Cavis here is the first person to actually to not. He's a thinker. Do you know what I mean? And I like that. And we don't ever see that kind of thriller in this kind of stories, and I like that a lot.
I think it's got to be a 7 or 8, hasn't it?
I think it's pretty good. We've learned quite a lot, so I'm gonna say 8.
Yeah, I agree.
Bam. So then we have morals. So what kind of moral lessons do we
8
learn?
is
Or
a multiple of 2. Shut up! Fucking hell!
yeah,
Sorry.
damn. Well, tell you what, at least Danbot's very good with
Yeah, I
maths. I'll tell you
programmed him
that.
to do maths. Although I
Yeah.
programmed him, so I don't know.
Is Danbot just is he just a calculator? Is that what he is?
A calculator of human emotions.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, so morals. Don't kill sons. Don't. Um, does the okay, Dan? Let's think about this. Does the punishment fit the crime? Does the murder of Baldur and his in Escape from Hell match up to burning Loki in the same spot in the rocks? Does it, but also the death of his sons?
I don't think he gets burnt.
He gets burnt by poison, though, doesn't he?
I suppose that's more just yeah. Do you get burnt by poison, or is it more just that you get like incredibly ill?
Well, the idea is that the poison drips onto him, and it burns into his skin. He's like, ah, and he writhes so much that it's creating earthquakes.
I don't think it fit the punishment, but then also, I guess it's hard to underestimate how bad what he did to Boulder was in terms of how they saw it.
Also, is it just Boulder, as we've kind of alluded to? This is for all this shit he's done, right?
Yeah, I think it's just, and I think that's why, yeah, if you're taking it as like, is this harsh compared to what he did to Boulder? Yes, but is it harsh when you think about all the all the other things he's struck out on? Then I think not.
Remember, like the Master Builder, the yeah, when he's always trying to out like in the Golden Apples, and like he's always been there, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit like when judges give harsher sentences to people who have also got quite a litany of other crimes in their history.
Yes.
Because it's more like you're not just getting punished for that one thing you did, you're also being told, look, this is obviously the final straw.
Yeah. So I'm not sure where that leaves us in terms of morals, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, because it's not really an eye for an eye, is it? I do think it was harsh what they did to him.
Uh, I don't know. I think he's kind of like
Older isn't being punished. He's in the underworld, yes, but he's not being punished. I mean, they were actually holding a feast for him, for Christ's sake. So actually, like, he's probably all right. The underworld is
yes,
a terrible place.
but he also kicks out Ragnarok, which is the end of their civilization, right?
That's true, yeah.
This is the start of that. What other moral lessons did we learn? Don't I guess also he created a fishing net, and that's his own undoing. Do you know what I mean? So
Yes, yeah, that's true.
I'm not sure what the point is there, but yeah, I don't know. Also, yeah, maybe you reap what you sow, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that is probably the moral, actually.
Maybe a 6 for morals.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
am
I was literally going to say 6.
creativity.
I think it's very creative.
Can you talk us through it, Dan?
You've got Cavasir being the Sherlock Holmes, the sleuth. You've
Mhm.
got Loki transforming into a serpent. You've got the origin story of how why salmon swim upstream and why they have a small apparently a small why they go smaller at the end. You've got like the gods working together. We never really seen that before. This was like an Avengers Assemble moment for everyone. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, funny that Loki and Thor are also in those. And then
Yeah.
you've got like turning their like that's a really ingenious way to hurt someone is to turn their son into a wolf and watch him rip your other son to bits and then use that dead son's entrails to tie you down where a poisonous snake bites you forever. I mean,
Yeah, I mean that's like a death metal album,
that's also
right?
going to come up
That's
in WTF, but also creativity, like fair play. um I think it's high.
yes. Do you want to put a number to it, and I'll see if I agree?
I think an 8 or 9.
Should we go for 9? Because
Oh.
it's I there's actually, not to be me here, but
Why isn't
is
it
it
a
not
10?
but no, but like let's have a look. 'Cause he
Say that.
turns into a
I tell you why
fish,
it's
and
not, I tell you why it's not a 10.
he's a fugitive. He's kind of he's a fish. He gets caught by Loki. I thought everything coalesces. It's a
I
really
suppose
wonderful
actually as a
story.
narrative it's good because it's like the end of all of these mischievous things. Loki's a big character, and finally he's got his comeuppance for all those horrible things he's done over the
Yeah.
years. All right,
Yes. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
give it a 10.
Get in.
Oh, what's that? It's the get a 10 in creativity trumpet.
And one of these days, Dan, I'm going to get a 10s across the board, by the way, and that's going to be
Probably.
the best day of my life. Okay, WTF. So, yeah, we've kind of talked about this already, but the poison, the wolf, the entrails, locking him up, that's all quite nasty stuff. The fact that he turns into a fish is kind of weird. Maybe not WTF, but it's certainly weird how he um, kind of preempts his own destiny by making the net as well. Yeah, I also how they found him so fast as well, because like Odin was like, "Yep, he's there." He's like, okay."
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
was
sure
true.
if is it that WTF. There's the ending is
The
for
ending is
sure.
definitely WTF. The ending is definitely WTF.
The rest of it's very minor. So maybe I would give it a 5.
I think it's actually, I actually think it's a 5, and it's a shame, isn't it? Because the end is so WTF. Arguably, it's probably the most WTF we've
Well,
ever seen. But it's
hold
a
on.
shame that the rest of it wasn't. So maybe I'm thinking a 6 because we've got to give it that
Yeah,
extra, just because it had that extra something, you know?
because the ending's so awful. And it's actually one of the worst things in the terms of Norse mythology.
That's
It's
what I
up there
mean.
to,
It's the worst thing we've had.
but
It's the most
I feel
WTF
bad.
thing we've had.
But I feel bad that it's only 6 then. But then again, it's only one thing, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
continuous. So
I'll get
maybe a 6 or a 7, but 6 is fine.
or 6. I'll get Danbot to do the maths if that's okay.
Yeah, so that's 8 plus
Yeah,
6 plus
Danbot.
10 plus 6.
8 plus 6 plus 10 plus 6 is 86,106.
And
Yeah,
I see what you did there, because you just
I think I
what you just
calibrated him
done.
wrong. I think I calibrated him wrong.
Yeah, because what you just done is added all the numbers together. I
He's
think
just
like
put the numbers together.
86106.
Yeah.
So even as a calculator, he's not very good calculator.
No, I didn't think about that when I. Oh well. Hey,
Right,
this is why it's good
that's
that I brought him on the show. To test out.
30. It's 30, I
It's
think.
30. Yeah.
So good. All
Imagine
right.
if it was 86,106. Crazy.
That's a high scoring myth. But yeah, well, Dan, what an episode, right?
That was good. And that is the end of Norse mythology.
Probably, yeah.
Probably.
So moving forwards, we're gonna try and think. We need to. Dan and I need to think about what we're going to be doing, but we should be doing something interesting. But we need to think about ourselves first. So we're going to leave it open ended for now. But if you do have any preferences, you can get in touch with us at misspodcast@gmail.com and send us some stories. And we'll also. I'm not sure about you, Dan, but I'm also happy to revisit Norse myths if we've missed any out as well.
Of course, I
Yeah.
think what's happened at the moment is unfortunately Norse mythology, we've kind of hit a dead end much sooner than we had thought. It just kind of has happened. We realized actually in doing research that we've kind of done everything now. At least
Yeah, and we
Greek
don't
and
want.
mythology, like Greek and Romans, we already planned quite a few episodes ahead when it was we just knew when it was going to end. But mythology it's been fun, and it's been a bit of a struggle at times, hasn't it, to find myths that are of a decent length and aren't too similar to each other and blah 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 blah.
I'll tell you, they're quite pungent but small, short and sweet, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean. But yeah, so there's a couple of options. We're talking about maybe doing kind of some world myths, so kind of generic ones like Egyptian and more
Celtic,
maybe some
ancient Chinese,
Scandinavian.
Aztec. There's all sorts of ones we can do, which will be fun.
And also, we're controversially, we're also maybe looking at doing season 3 as the Bible, but we'll talk more about that in depth as well. But yeah, so you can let us know what you think as well. and we can. But yeah, it'd be great to hear your opinions. But we hope you really enjoyed the Norse canon because it's been a blast, hasn't it, Dan?
It has. I've really enjoyed it.
I think it's offered a lot more than the Greek ones. But I love the Greek ones as well; they're perfect. But I also think the Norse have added a new elements to it, right?
I've learned a lot, put it that way. Like, I didn't really know anything about Norse mythology going in, and now I feel like I have a good, like, in a pub quiz, I might be able to do all right.
Yeah, I've actually been with Dan in the pub because he's fucking phenomenal, and I get too passionate too fast. I feel, yeah, I mean, and I'm not very much help.
Too passionate? What do you mean?
Yeah, because I'm just like, that's the right answer, and then it's like, it's not the right answer, and then it's like, shut up, Dad. You know what I mean? Like, I get very angry very fast. I have some issues. Sorry.
No, I've had a good time, Matt. Thank you for being with me on this journey.
Yes, thank you, Dan. And we aiming to put an episode out next week, but we might just take a week off. We'll see what happens. But do keep in touch with us at Miss Podcast on Twitter, and you can join the Misfits fan club as well on Facebook as well. And what should people do online in terms of ratings, Dan?
People should try and give us, if you can, pretty please, 5 stars on iTunes, and also tell a friend. It's more about sharing the love.
Yes, share it with friends, and we've obviously done loads of episodes of this, and I think it's really lovely. So if you want to share it with friends, that'd be great. Also, why don't you share with your friends my new podcast called Castable? It's where I interview famous comedians and they pitch their dream music festival. It's really good, and I'll be honest, not that many people have downloaded it so far. So why don't you check it out? It's an absolute delight, isn't it, Dan?
It is. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
How many episodes have you listened to?
None.
So supportive. Thank you. You also you're furloughed. You have unlimited time right now.
I actually should listen to it, to be fair. I'm going to listen to it without telling you, and then just one day I'm going to reference it, and you'll see if you pick up on it.
Oh my god, you'll be like, yeah, music's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what I also love about this episode that we're about Norse mythology?
What?
Is we introduced a hilarious character of Dambot, and we're never going to have to use it again.
Well, you say hilarious character. He has 2 jokes, and they don't really make sense, to be honest. So I didn't want to say it, but we might have to call Dan.
Wait,
Bot. Call Dan.
Saying that? Are you saying what I think you're saying? Are you saying that all that work I put in to create a robot to do an AI to do the league table has failed miserably?
Yeah, and Dan, you're gonna have to do the league table yourself.
Fine.
Whoa! You know what? This has been such a myths episode, hasn't it? Like it's so weird. All right, I've been Matt Horse.
I've been Dan Rhodes,
and we'll see you when the Ragnarok happens.
Yeah.
Love you very much, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Welcome to Myths. Welcome to.
Matt, you can.
I thought I'd do that kind of emotion landing.